Good morning, everybody. It's Ben Jones here with Backdoor from Bronson Coffee Roasters, doing a little live video from my home coffee workshop. It's Monday morning. Beautiful, beautiful sunny day up here in the Pacific Northwest. We just had our hottest weekend of the summer. So, what do you do when that happens? You go on a little camping trip. So I was out camping for the weekend, which was really fun, and I learned some new fun things. So, little context. For those of you who don't know, I really like the AeroPress. It's one of my favorite little coffee brewers. I'm gonna just sit up here on the, there we go. The AeroPress is one of my favorite little coffee brewers. But one of the things is that it fits really well with my life here at home because I'm the only coffee drinker. I brew one cup at a time. That way every cup I have is nice and fresh. I can control all the little bits and pieces about it, make my recipe just how I like it. I've got a lot of brewers. I use a lot of them, but the AeroPress gets a lot of good use here. When I was out camping, well, there were some other folk there who, yes, I do like the AeroPress, Eric. Anyway, AeroPress for two. Larger portions with the AeroPress has always been a difficult little element to nail down. Classic wisdom on AeroPress for two has been 1 scoop per serving. Fill your water to the 1 for 1 serving, 2 scoops and water to the 2 for 2, 3 scoops water to the 3 for 3, and so on, and up to 4 servings. And that's from Alan Adler, the inventor of the AeroPress. He then takes that little tiny concentrated beverage, adds some hot water, just like an Americano, and dilutes it down. And that works okay, and that's fine. I've always wanted something a little bit better, and I still get people saying, hey, can we, how can we really improve AeroPress for 2 or 3 people? So here's a technique that I like to do on the occasion that I'm brewing for 2 people. So normally I'm going straight into my mug because that's what I like, but when the friend comes over and they have their mug, we can't really press into the pair of them. There is a contraption on the market which is essentially an AeroPress funnel that sits above the 2, and then it splits them 1 to each side, much like an espresso portafilter would. And that's okay. I've never used it. It looks interesting. But I'm going to show you something we can do to get AeroPress for 2 using 1 AeroPress. I'm going to use my little glass decanter here because I have it, so you can see what's going on. Always start with the rinse. I've done my standard double filters on here because I like to kind of clean up that texture a little bit. And then I'm going to go and put that on my scale. And the scale, again, if you have a scale, use it as often as you can. It just helps keep things nice and tidy. If you don't have a scale, I can't recommend one enough. It's one of the best tools for just simplifying your home coffee brewing experience. All right. Moderately coarse ground coffee, so kind of the coarser side of drip. This is going to be for the first serving. So that is the coffee for my guest. And if I was taking the time and just wanted to do this one at a time, easy enough to do. Just make a couple AeroPresses, takes a few minutes. We're going to make 2 at a time though. So I'm going to add my second dose of ground coffee. So I have 2 full doses. It's sitting right at, just because of the way it rounded up, I have 39 grams of coffee in there. If I'm making coffee for 2 at home, and I'm not going to use the AeroPress, I will usually use my Chemex. 40 grams coffee, 20 ounces of beverage, gives me coffee for 2, and it's great. But let's AeroPress that. All right. The challenge here is I can't fit 700, 600 grams of coffee in here, or water. It's not going to work. So we'll just do what we can do. I'm going to go ahead and get a bunch of water in there, leaving some room on top for some stirring. So I'll take my Aero paddle and make sure I get all those grounds nice and wet. Normally, I would do this very efficiently with an eye on the clock, trying to prevent drip through. We're getting a decent amount of coffee dripping out the bottom. I would normally want to stop that by inserting that plunger in there. But we're going to mix this up a little bit. I want that to drip through. So far I've added about 200 grams of coffee, or sorry, 200 grams of hot water. And I'm using water that's just short of 200 degrees. Let that drip a little bit. Brewing up a single pressing of highly concentrated coffee and then adding water, much like an Americano, is a decent way to do that. There are some drawbacks. When you're doing larger quantities, it tends to get really watered down. In theory, it works. Double strength concentration, dilute it down 50-50. In actuality, it turns out to be a little weak and underwhelming. And here is where we can really do some fun with the AeroPress. I'm going to take that off my scale. And I'm going to take my plunger, and I'm just going to press ever so gently. We're going to start to get some of that water through. The trick here is to get all of your water to pass through the grounds. So I've pushed down a little ways, grab this, rotate it out. That way I minimize any suction upward. Let's put that back there, and I'm just going to add some more water. We're now up to 350 grams of total water input. Getting the water to pass through the coffee bed really improves the fullness of flavor, gives a nice thorough extraction, and doesn't give you quite that, that light watered down texture. Again, same thing, push down just a decent way, rotate it out. Yes, this is a little more involved than just, making a couple AeroPresses. But sometimes we do things just because we can. And this is a good way to make 2 full cups of coffee. Little press down. Push that water through. If it gets really sticky like it is here, a little agitation, break up that coffee bed. Add a little more water. In truth, I would usually just reach for my second AeroPress because I have my second AeroPress within arm's reach. But not everyone has 2, 3, 4. I'm looking at 5 AeroPresses right now in my workshop. So I could AeroPress for 5 faster than we are right here. But again, I'm in my workshop. I've got 5 AeroPresses handy. One of them is the AeroPress Go, which is a smaller AeroPress. It's a fun little one if you haven't seen that. Give that little agitation. So I did use that coarser coffee because this is a longer brew time. Move my kettle out the way. Just give that nice, easy pressure. And a little more water. Goes back and forth and back and forth. Should check what our total brew weight is here. I'm up to 630 grams, so that is what I want for my 2 mugs. So I'm just going to give this another stir. I'm going to go ahead and plunge through. And as I do that, I'm going to try to take a look at these comments and see what's happening. Mike, yes, happy to make these videos. They're kind of fun. Oops. Just got nice, even lean on here. Good, easy pressure. If it starts to push it back on you, just give it a little lift and press. Little lift and a press. All right, there we go. It's starting to hiss at me, so I'm going to call it done. I'm going to just flip that over. Set it there. I now have coffee for 2. Some for me. Some for my friend. There we are. The coffee I'm brewing with today is the Colombia Las Brisas, of course from Batter from Bronson Coffee Roasters. I love these big, thick, chunky diner mugs. That's the way I like to drink coffee. So, we have a question. Somebody's asking about coffee for camping. I love taking the AeroPress camping, and I'll show you exactly why that is. So after I make the coffee, the cleanup is incredibly easy. I just take this over to the campfire. Little campfire down here. I just take off the lid, plunger it out. What you're left over with is just a little bit here, and you can use your finger if you don't mind getting dirty. Take a little cloth and just wipe that clean. It's clean, ready to go for your next one. If you want to get really ambitious, you could rinse out everything. The AeroPress, let me come back up here. The beauty of the AeroPress for camping, it's lightweight, it's durable, it's really easy to clean. You don't need to have your water as hot as you would for if you're using a French press, or even if you're doing like a pour over cone. And I love both the French press and the pour over cone, taking them both camping, but with the AeroPress, it's just incredibly helpful, far too convenient. Another thing you can do with the AeroPress, just go get a beer can koozie or a soda can koozie, cut the bottom off, and then you can slide that over to insulate. Paper filters, they come 350 in a pack. Yep, 350 filters in a pack, little paper filters. I tuck them into a little plastic Ziploc bag and tuck that inside of the plunger so that I always have nice, dry, clean filters with me. If you don't want to use a disposable filter, it's paper, you know, so paper coming from trees that are that are grown specifically for paper. So we're not talking about deforesting old growth forest. This is, you know, from an alder farm somewhere. There are metal discs that are very helpful. There's the Prismo attachment. Those things are great. Really, I dig the AeroPress for many reasons, but when it comes to camping, portability, had I not just gotten home from a camping trip, I would have an AeroPress in my car. There is always an AeroPress sitting in my car just waiting. So I see that our producers are tossing up a bunch of fun links in the comments. We've got some good deals going on just to keep everybody caffeinated and keep things moving during these COVID days. So yes, Shandy, I definitely recommend the AeroPress for camping. Can't beat it. It's pretty rad. These coffees, 2 mugs, full flavored. They don't taste watered down at all. I didn't have to dilute anything. It's straightforward and simple. You can do 2 at a time. It's also possible to just press it twice. So actually really helpful if you're doing a 16-ounce mug. So this little guy, this is a 10 ounce, and then I have my 16-ounce tumbler. This is one where I definitely passed some extra water through. Pushing up to 20, that's a little bit bigger. Anyway, go out, have fun, play around. There's no real wrong way to do this as long as you are enjoying the liquid you get in your cup. The only bad cup of coffee is the one you don't want to finish. And I hope that we can be part of your good cups of coffee. Thanks, everybody.